Well, good morning and happy Friday, Facebook friends. Happy Friday. All right, we are live. Welcome. Welcome to Fridays with Friends. I am your host, coach, certified Christian life coach, Carmen James, and welcome. Welcome to my sunroom. Welcome to our series called Fridays with Friends, where we meet up with the hero, the villain, the victim, and the guide that show up in this thing we call life. The story that you and I get to write because God woke us up today. And so we get to pick up the pen, we get to write another page, or maybe even today you're going to write a chapter. I don't know what God has in store for you, but we're picking up the pen. We are going to co author this thing called life. And as a part of that, your online life coach, I am going to step into the role of guide and guide you in this conversation. Good morning, Danielle. Guide you in this conversation around the villain, also known as the thief of presence. The thief of presence. And I don't think most of us really stop to think about this smartphone being the thief of presence. We look at it, it's a tool, it's a way to stay connected, it's technology, it's powerful. We have access to the world right here in our hands. We have access to anything and everything. We can make reservations, we can do DoorDash, we can check the weather, we can post on social media, we can take photos, we can phone a friend, we can read a Bible verse. There's so many things that we can do, but what is good can equally be bad, right? Because the thief of presence does come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And so I want to invite you this morning to lay your phone down. In fact, I had pulled up a timer, so full transparency. Let's just take a little challenge. I'm going to start that timer. I'm going to lay that phone down off to the side because, well, I am on my computer. And so it does make it a little easier than if I were recording on my phone. But I am going to ask you to lay your phone down. You can still hear me. You don't necessarily need to be able to see me, but let's just feel what it feels like to lay down the very thing that so many people struggle to lay down. And truly, that is the definition of an idol. An idol is anything that owns you or I, controls you or I, something that you or I struggle to give up, to lay down. That's an idol. That is idol worship. And a lot of people, I think, struggle with that because we don't want to admit that we are controlled by something like this. Your minute's up, by the way. So if you're getting antsy and need to pick your phone up, feel free, go ahead, bow to the idol, if you will. But a lot of us are resistant to admit that we struggle with an idol. We don't want to look at a phone as an idol, a computer as an idol, a job as an idol, a relationship as an idol, money as an idol, another person as an idol, our possessions as idols. We don't want to admit, our pride resists that definition. But will you join me this morning, whether you're probably out walking or on a treadmill? I'm guessing Danielle might be on her treadmill. The weather here in Ohio today is overcast. We have rain coming this evening. We had storms yesterday, crazy storms. I was recording the Live Well Weekly for life coaches, and the power went out in the middle. And so I had to start over. And that was a little frustrating, but we got through it, and it actually turned out to be a great episode. But this morning, we're going to talk about presence and what we miss when we are caught up with this, because typically when we're on this, our heads are down. We are actually, believe it or not, bowing our head to the idol, right? So I want to ask you the same question that I ask on the Hump Day teaser on Wednesday. And that question is simply this: when was the last time you were fully present? Meaning there were no distractions. The phone wasn't on. The notifications were not going off. The notifications on your computer were not going off. The TV was not on. You were indeed fully 100% present. Because we do live in a world, my best friend and I were talking about this Wednesday night. We just live in a very different world today. There's so much technology and stimulation coming at us from every direction, and it really is hard to turn off the noise and be present. The Bible says to be still and know that I am God. But we struggle to sit still. We struggle to not be doing. We struggle to simply be, and yet God created us as beings, human beings, not human doings, right? And if you pop on and join the conversation, say hello in the chat. We would love to acknowledge and welcome you into the sunroom today, into our little conversation. Because here's what I want to unpack with you. Today's villain really isn't the phone. It's everything the phone quietly steals from us. And because it is quiet, we're not really aware. We're not really thinking about the conversations that deserve our attention. Good morning, Laura. Or the sunsets that we miss because the sky changes in the blink of an eye. And actually, in my stories this week, I posted a heart cloud that was just outside the condo, in between a couple of trees. And had I had my head down, I would have missed it. Those clouds were floating by. Prayers that get interrupted by notifications. Grandchildren saying, watch me do this. Look what I can do. Or even children who need our presence. And our eyes are locked and glued to a screen. These quiet moments where God shows up and wants to whisper, but the algorithm of social media and scrolling on our devices is so much louder. So many women that I have coached over the years talk about this. They talk about it. They talk about, oh, I get on social media and the next thing you know, an hour's gone by and I've gone down the black hole. Right. Social media is designed exactly to do that, to suck us in, steal our presence. It steals our ability to be fully present, and we go there often looking for connection, but it is a false often way to really satisfy that true desire that our soul has for a connection. And many of us, myself included, have prayed those prayers. God, show up. God, let me see you. Let me experience you today. Let me hear from heaven. Let me see your glory. And then we just bury ourselves on and in our devices. And God is a God, we know this biblically. His voice is quiet, it is a whisper, and he's not going to scream over the noise. He's just not going to do it. He gives us free will, agency. We get to choose. We can pray the prayer, but then choose not to show up in a way that God truly can move, truly can reveal himself, truly can speak. And so we know this in the hero's journey, in the framework of this series. Every good story, every good life has a hero, a victim, a villain, and a guide. We already have established we are the heroes in our story, you and me. And the guide is your life coach. That would also be me right now in this moment in this series. You are the hero, and yet the victim says, here's what the victim says to justify the device. I'm just going to check one more thing. I'm just going to look at one more thing. I'm just going to post one more thing. I'm just going to go back. I just need to comment on something real quick. The villain keeps us distracted. And the guide also, we have a guide in life known as Jesus. And Jesus is there inviting you and I back to what matters most. Back to what matters most. I want you to think about that. The guide, Holy Spirit, is there. Jesus is there. God is there. And the invitation is always to come back to what we say we value. If we say we value God first, how much time are we giving God in comparison to how much time we give this? And I just thought of something. Wouldn't it be a fascinating challenge if every time we picked up our phone, we also stopped to pray? Because we're picking that phone up more than we are even aware of. Statistics are now showing the average person checks their smart device, picks it up nearly 100 times a day. And many adults spend anywhere from 4 to 7 hours daily on screens, whether it's your computer, your iPad, the television, or your phone. We are losing our ability to be present, to focus, to sleep, to have real connection with people, and true peace. I was having a conversation with Danielle yesterday. I was actually coaching her. I am her life coach. And we were coaching around the phone and her youngest son. And I was sharing with her, inviting her to consider that these phones that we hand children today, sadly, they're not ready. They're not mature enough. Their little brains aren't ready for the power that they hold in their hands. And they think they're connecting, but then put them in a room and they don't know how to have a conversation with anybody. They don't. And that's scary and sad that we as a society think this is okay. We think it's okay. We're raising a generation of children and grandchildren who will never be able to sit in a room and truly connect at a soul level, look another person in the eyes and have a real conversation. Because why? We've allowed a simple text, a word, a one-word answer to be a way to connect, a way to converse. Clicking like or love on a post is not real connection. This is part of real connection. I am doing the best I can in real time to connect with those of you that are watching live and those of you that will watch the replay. But at the same time, while I sit here and pour out my heart, I don't get to hear yours other than what you put in the comments. And we all know there are the drive-by, what do they call them? They used to call them likey-loos. They click like on everything and just keep going. That's not real connection and conversation. That's why comments exist and direct messenger exists. They put that there to try to drive conversation. But really what our souls crave and what your soul would love is if we could all just come to my sunroom and sit here in the flesh across the table. Any of us who went to that certification in Knoxville, Tennessee a couple of weeks ago know and heard it. The big sermon was around get in a room with people. Our souls, our bodies, we were wired for connection. And connection is not scrolling like and looky-loo and comparison and one word answers. It is conversation, and conversation, the true definition of conversation is back and forth. Right? It's back and forth. It isn't me doing all the teaching and preaching. It's teaching and preaching. It's dissemination of information, but it isn't true conversation. And God wired us to desire connection at a soul level. And when we're missing that, when our heads are bowed, when we're caught up in the screens for 4 to 7 hours a day, we wonder why something in us is crying out for more. It's crying out for more, the soul is, because we were made for more. God did not create us for this, to allow the enemy to come in like a thief and steal our ability to focus, be present in a room and connect, truly sit eyeballs across the table and dialogue with another human being, another person whose heart is beating. In the Bible, we have talked about this in previous episodes. The story of Mary and Martha. Most of us know this story very well. Drop it in the comments. Are you a Mary or a Martha? And own it honestly, because I truly believe the world is full of Marthas, the doers, not the beers. Mary was a human being. Martha was a human doer. And Martha struggled. There was a disconnect for Martha in what Martha said she valued and what she actually did. We say God first, family second, job third, but the truth of the matter is it's smart devices first, and then maybe God, and then maybe the job. If you have to work and have a full-time job or a part-time job, and you work, especially if you work for someone else, there's accountability, I'm sure, before you get the paycheck, or you wouldn't be employed. So the job's probably way up there. And God sort of falls to the bottom, and so do the people that we say we love and value. Jesus lovingly tells Martha, you are worried and distracted about many things, but only one thing is necessary. He wasn't correcting service. He was correcting distraction. Thank you, Martha. Little Laura, little Danielle. I appreciate, love your honesty, because I can be a Martha. I am so wired to be Martha. And I will so own that. He was not correcting the fact that Martha was serving. He was correcting the fact that she was distracted. And I underlined this as I was writing out my stuff for you today because this really spoke to me. Distraction has always been a spiritual battle. Have you stopped to think about that? Distraction has always been a spiritual battle. It simply fits in our pockets today, or we hold it in our hands. Whoa, that is a mic drop moment. I'm just going to call that out. It truly is. Here's a beautiful quote from one of the authors I dearly love, Mary Oliver. Attention is the beginning of devotion. Now, how does that quote apply to the thief of presence? Attention is the beginning of our devotion. What we give our attention to grows, and what we do not give our attention to will die. We wonder why divorce is at an all-time high here in the United States. Maybe it's because we have given our attention away to something or someone else. You guys know I always like to give a reset because it's Friday and we're headed into the weekend. Your physical reset, should you choose to accept this challenge, leave your phone where it is. Leave it where it is. Place your hands over your heart. Feel your heartbeat for a second. Some of us have just truly lost the ability to be present and recognize our heartbeat and our breath. God created us to be human beings. Now, turn your palms upward. Turn your palms upward. And I want you to listen right now for the furthest sound away from you. Now listen for the closest sound. Roll your wrists. Take your palms, flex and point, stretch, and turn your palms back up and choose receiving instead of reaching. Choose receiving because you choose to be present instead of reaching. Mentally, I invite you to sit with this question around, what am I searching for every time I pick up that phone? Is it validation? Am I running to social media to see how many likes, comments, followers? Is it an escape? Is it numbness? Could it be connection? What is it that we're reaching for? Emotionally, notice the discomfort of silence. Sit with it instead of scrolling. Can you sit in silence for even 5 minutes? Spiritually, Lord, help me notice holy moments that you gift that have nothing to do with social media, the algorithm, clicks or likes. Help me seek your face before I look at another email or another notification. And as we wrap up today, I want to share just a little coaching moment. Your children and your grandchildren won't remember how quickly you answered your emails, how popular you were on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. But they'll remember whether you looked into their eyes. Your spouse won't remember every text, but they'll remember whether you truly listened. And God, well, God is inviting us back into our lives, back into presence, back into connection, back into a space where we were wired as human beings to be Marys, to be present. One thing that I'm loving is this principle of, and I shared this previously, I pretty much have learned the last 2 years to keep my phone on do not disturb. Now, I check it periodically because, there could be an emergency. Something could warrant my attention. But I am no longer ruled by a phone. I do not answer every text immediately when it comes in because I don't always know when they come in. I don't answer every email immediately on demand. I have gotten myself to a place where I have a better relationship and less of an addiction to my phone. And it takes time and a lot of practice to get there. So I want to invite you to consider, because all of these phones, it doesn't matter if you have an Android or an iPhone, they all have the ability for you to set parameters around notifications and around disruptions and distractions. The other thing is, can you turn that phone upside down if you absolutely have to have it when you are in the presence of the people that you say you love and value the most? Can you put it down? And what are we teaching our children and grandchildren? If we're going to hand them the power to the world, and also often the devil's playground, because it is, in the wrong hands that are not mature and ready, the enemy is going to come for that. That is an open door to an enemy that if he can get their soul and their minds and their thoughts and their feelings and their attention at age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he's got them. The addiction starts early, and it's going to be really hard to break later. So your challenge this next week is to choose one meal, one walk, or one conversation this weekend that is completely phone free, completely computer free, completely iPad free, completely television free. And I want to invite you to be fully present. Your attention is one of the greatest gifts that you can give God and the people you love. You, my friend, are not the victim. You are the hero. The villain is the thief of presence. The guide is the Holy Spirit, who is always calling us back to what matters most. And this is why these conversations every week, these themes around Fridays with Friends are actually our mini series in becoming a woman in midlife who reconnects to the woman that she left behind, the woman that she left behind, rediscover your purpose and meaning in this new chapter called midlife. called life. Guys, we'll never reconnect to the woman that we left behind if our presence is someplace else. I want to invite you to really think about this conversation because it is such an important one. And our society is crumbling in real time. While technology is wonderful, and look, there are great things about smartphones. I'm not saying they're, horrible. Yes, they serve a great purpose, but it's like I would coach a wellness client. Cheesecake is great. I love cheesecake too. We cannot eat cheesecake 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and meet our goals. If our goal is weight loss, cheesecake 24 hours a day, 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day is not going to get us to goal. The same is true about this. If we value one thing, but then live another way, we have a huge disconnect and our souls are crying out. So with that, it's 8:04. We went a little over, but that's okay. It was worth the conversation. This is your online certified Christian life coach signing off on another episode of our Fridays with Friends. Have a great presence-filled weekend. I love you guys. If you're catching the replay, I would love to know your thoughts. What convicted you? What landed for you? And for my coaches out there, I just wonder, how are you going to use this with your clients? Because our clients all struggle with the thief of presence. And then lastly, to my coaching friends, if you missed yesterday's The Live Well Weekly, that live is also here on my Facebook wall as well as on Substack. So if you're over on Substack, you can catch the live there as well. It was really, really good yesterday. All right. Have a presence-filled weekend, everyone. I hope you take that challenge. 1 meal, 1 walk, 1 conversation, no distractions. Until next Friday.